Hi friends, Tracy here from the Sewing Channel. I may or may not have a problem here. Honestly, I think I solved my project bag problem. And you know if I solved it for me, then I solved it for you. 2 styles, 6 patterns, straight bottom, box bottom, all with handles. Oh yeah, enough talking already. Let's get busy. First things first, figure out which style and which size that you would like to make out of the 6 that I have available for you. You can choose the straight bottom or you can choose the box bottom. It's totally up to you. You can get 6 project pods out of this one download. Grab all your fabric pieces together, already cut, and fuse your stiff interfacing like a Decor Bond or an SF101 onto the backs, wrong sides of all of your fabric pieces. Just make sure that it sticks because sometimes, you know, these fusibles, they don't want to stick. But with my Laura Star, they have no problem sticking. For the rectangle pieces, you'll have 2 for the top front and 2 for the bottom front. Here's the back outside and here is the back inside fabric. So what I've done is fused the stiff interfacing to the wrong side of the fabric, the 2 big pieces. Then I used spray adhesive to put some cotton batting onto the back of where the stiff interfacing was. So now, since these don't have any fusibles on them, I'm going to use my 505 spray adhesive for one of the backs here. I'm going to spray away from my table so I don't get any of this, you know, on there. And then I'm going to just lay these directly on top of one another, best that I can. We will have to trim this a little bit later, but for this step, we want to make sure that we can get it, you know, best as we can. And if it's not right, just peel it off and redo it. So you can see there, I've just made a big rectangle quilt sandwich. Set this aside for now. Take your 2 bottom rectangles and your 1 piece of clear vinyl for the window. A really great tip when dealing with vinyl is to have some newspaper or tissue paper handy. Now sometimes they'll sell the vinyl with the tissue paper already, and don't throw it out because you will definitely need it. It's super hard to see clear vinyl on your table or just in general. I can't even tell you, getting ready for this project in this video, how many times I've lost the vinyl. So trust me, this newspaper, you need it. How I cut the vinyl was just lay a bigger piece of the newspaper down, and then I would lay a bigger piece of vinyl down, and then I would cut it to the dimensions that I needed. Pretty easy. Let's construct the bottom front part of this project pod, which is this part right here on the bottom. Take your inside lining bottom front piece and lay that face up on your table. Next, you're going to take your vinyl piece, one of the long sides on your vinyl piece, and you're going to lay that along the straight edge of your rectangle fabric piece. Here, let me turn this. Then you're going to take your front outer piece and you're going to lay that face down with that long edge lining up along there, and you should have 3 layers together now. This is the bottom, remember, lining is face up, then you have your vinyl window, then you have your outer piece that is face down. And then you're going to just, you know, use some clips. You really don't want to use pins in this case. The pins will puncture your vinyl. And once you make a hole in vinyl, you make it forever. Once you have that clipped, you can kind of grab it and just get it going there so that all of your clips are in there. When I deal with vinyl, I overclip. You'll rarely see me pin so much or clip so much, but in this case, you definitely want to clip. Once you have all 3 layers of the bottom clipped together, you're going to take it over to your sewing machine and sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Be sure to backstitch. This is what you should have so far. Lift that vinyl piece up and out. Find your front or your back, whatever. This is the front in this case because I wanted that geode kind of right there, whatever. So you're going to just finger press this back. You're not going to put your iron on it at this point because we don't want to melt our vinyl, right? And it should finger crease back pretty nicely. Follow along here on this very edge and put 2 lines of top stitching right across that. This is where that newspaper comes in handy. You see this big flap here? This is going to totally catch on my sewing bed. I kid you not. It totally will. I've made enough of these. It's going to catch. What you're going to do is just take your newspaper and lay it down. Look at the difference. You're not catching it in the needle or anything. You're not sewing the newspaper to the fabric. Not at all. You're just, gliding it along there. Line it up and just sew like normal, top stitch. Bring it back around and then sew another line of stitching. And you have the bottom construction already done. Now we're going to install the zipper. Take your vinyl piece with the 2 bottom pieces that are now connected and set that on your table right side up. Once you have this laying face up here, what I want you to do is take this line right here where you top stitched. I want you to line it up with a line that's on your cutting mat. So that line is right along there on a cutting mat. You want something heavy here so that this stays set. Once you have this all lined up, then take something heavy and just set it right there for a minute. Grab another piece of newspaper. Now I can see here that as I look along the line where the clear edge where I cut it initially was, I am angling this way about 1/8 of an inch. So there's about 1/8 of an inch ski slope going on here. I'm going to fold this so I can see even more of that vinyl. So I'm going to lay this under here so I can see where that vinyl ends. And again, I'm all lined up on this line. And now I can really see where that vinyl ends. It's hard, friends. I'm telling you, it's really hard to see this. So I'm shortest here on this line. So that is the line that I'm going to take it from. So I'm just going to line it there. Find a line on my ruler right here and come across until I find a good happy medium. And you know what? There's about 1/8 of an inch where it starts low here and just glides up. So I want it to be straight to begin with. So that's a way that you can double check that, before you make any big mistake. You can even check it again after you get the zipper on, and I'll show you that. So now we know it's straight. Now with your vinyl piece right side up, you're going to take your zipper tape and you're going to make sure that that toggle is facing down on top of that vinyl. And you're going to match up these edges here. Now in the pattern, I did make sure that you oversized your zipper because I just feel like that helps. So even though we have overhang here, that's okay. We want that. So we're going to line up the edge of that zipper tape, and clip it. If you do have double-sided tape, which I do here, 1/4 inch double-sided tape, you can use that instead of the clips or use that plus the clips. But I was running low and I really didn't, it's really not that sticky anymore. Wait a minute. Right here is where it starts to get sticky. So I am going to line this up right along the edge of the vinyl. And then pull that paper back. And you can see there that is lined up right along the edge there. And then I'm just going to lay my zipper tape right down onto that. Now I do prefer to use the double-sided tape rather than just only clips. But like I said, look, that's it. That's all I got left. So I got to put in a reorder. Throw that over there in the garbage. Maybe I missed. And I'm just going to put it right here. So I will clip half of it and put tape on half. And again, we're just lining up the edge there. It's very important to line this up correctly because we don't want a crooked zipper. Heck no. So I'm just going to go in for GP and I am going to clip all along here, even though, you know, I did put a couple pieces of that tape, but not in the middle. Well, you can see there exactly what I did. Overclip. That is key. So then you're going to just take it to your sewing machine and you're going to switch out your regular presser foot here for a zipper foot. Now, if you don't have a zipper foot, you can get really close to the teeth there so that you can, you know, get a nice snug zipper on there. The tip I'm going to give you here is to take this bottom piece and tuck it under like so. But make sure, you know, that it's far enough away from here that you don't sew that into your zipper. You're only sewing 2 layers at this point, your zipper tape and the clear vinyl. I do backstitch. I backstitch always. You're just getting snug up there with right next to the zipper teeth. But not too close, because you can get too close too. I've done that before, and you don't want to do that. And just keep checking that you're not sewing that into it, right? I love double-sided tape, so I have to put an order, I think. So there you have that. Now at this point, if I do have the double-sided tape, I go in and I peel it off because you can see it on this particular project pod and I don't want it to be seen from the other side because it is washable, but we're not like adding water to it and it's not really hidden. So yeah, try not to sew over top of that tape because you will be mad because you'll have to sit there and fuss with it trying to get it off out from the stitches. The next thing you're going to do is take that zipper tape and flip it so that the teeth are now facing the front and there is this seam allowance down here is pushed down. Just want to really finger press that really good so that that stays. Once I have that zipper tape pulled back, I'm just going to add some of these jumbo clips in. They go all the way over to the other side of the zip, see, like that, and they clip nicely. These little ones, they don't make the cut. They don't go all the way. So you want to get yourself some big jumbo clips, and I will link these down below. I love these clips. They work perfectly when the little ones just don't. Once you get that clipped how you think, you know, you want it, then you're going to flip it back here, line it up on your cutting mat, just like we did before, as you can see. Now what I'm looking for, whoop, that still moves, but that's okay. Now what I'm looking for here is on my zipper tape, where it lines up, and actually it lines up pretty darn perfect. This edge might be able to let out or pull in a little bit. You can at this point, you know, maneuver that vinyl a little bit on the zipper tape to bring it back up a little bit on one side or back down. But you definitely want to check it, because otherwise you may be crooked and you won't even know it. So that looks straight. Once you have it, you are going to bring it over to your sewing machine. Now this I know about this particular zipper foot. It does catch on the vinyl. I've learned that by making a bunch of these. So I'm going to actually sew it from the back. So in that case, I'm going to turn it all over, which I put my clips on wrong, of course, if I'm sewing on the back, but that doesn't really matter. So I'm going to flip this bottom piece under that vinyl so that part doesn't stick. And I flipped it over so that the other part doesn't stick, and I do need to move my zipper foot over to match up with the zipper tape. So that's the beauty of these little Juki zipper feet. They are just little handy things. Bring over to your zipper foot once you have it on the right side and it's all flipped up nicely. You're going to be able to see the center of that zipper tape, where those teeth are, and you're going to want to set that as close as you can without hitting your zipper teeth. And you can feel too for it. I mean, but I don't think you really need to feel for it, because it's like right there. You can see it because of the center. My needle is right next to those zipper teeth. I can tell, I can see it literally. You will be able to see the thread from the front, so make sure that you use matching thread. So now I have one stitch down. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to sew another row of stitching right on the edge, so this doesn't, you know, flip up if I'm pulling in and out my projects out of my project pod. So, you know, that's why I do that. So I'm going to flip this back over here, and now I'm going to come in and I'm going to be half on the zipper tape and half on the vinyl. But the beauty of it being on the zipper tape still, it will glide through, and especially if you have this tuck too. So I'm just going to, so the middle of my zipper foot is half on the vinyl and half on the zipper tape. Not sewing very straight, friends. That definitely will help. See, it doesn't flip, you know, near as much. The zipper is installed. Now it's on to the top front, or the top clear window vinyl part. Take your piece from the last segment and lay it face up, which means zipper toggle face up, and whatever you chose for the front bottom face up. Take your top lining piece and lay that face up on your table. Then you're going to take this zipper tape, remember it's facing up, just lift it up onto the lining piece, and make sure that your vinyl and that top lining piece on the sides are matching up. And then you're also going to be looking here at the top, so the edge of the zipper tape here is right along the edge of that straight line of the lining piece. You're going to pop some clips in to hold this. We don't need the big clips again, because you can see here the little clips work fine, because we're just putting it right up to the zipper teeth. So we're just going to add a few clips in there. Next, you're going to take that top outer piece and you're going to lay it face down, right side down, so wrong side up on top of this. And you're going to line it up too with the vinyl, and you're going to unclip the piece that you just clipped, the two pieces, and clip all three pieces together, making sure that they are all even along that edge. So the zipper tape edge and along those two straight edges of the lining and the outer piece. And if you have double-sided tape, you can also use it during this step too. It just doesn't have to be when you're installing the zipper. It works well for any seam that you want to make sure stays straight. You're going to sew right along that zipper teeth, that line right next to it. So I still have my zipper foot on and I need to change it over to the other side. So I'm going to turn this little button, or turn that little screw there, and then make sure that it's on this side. And make sure that it's not going to hit my needle either, right? You're going to utilize this piece right here so that this vinyl does not stick to your sewing bed. Just make sure that you're not sewing onto it, but you can see here it's well out of the way, so I shouldn't have any problem. So I'm just going to set that zipper foot where the needle is, right next to the teeth. So when you're done sewing that, you should have something that looks like this. It's gonna fly away, right? You're going to take these two pieces back and finger press them. Make sure that when you finger press it back that you're pressing it all that it can go away from those teeth. Lift it up onto your sewing machine bed again, and I'm just going to leave the zipper foot in because I think it's not going to hurt anything. So I'm going to flip this back and I'm going to sew 2 lines of top stitching across this edge here. Maybe you're wondering, why 2 lines of top stitching, Tracy? Well, 2 lines just look better than 1 line. Bring it back around and go in for that second stitch. So that is all top stitched and ready to go. At this point, I'm going to pull this toggle in about, a couple inches or so, and I'm going to stay stitched right in here, about an inch in or so. Because when we go to trim this, it should meet around there. I just don't want to lose this toggle, which I did lose on, one of those pods. So I'm just going to hold it together and about an inch or so, maybe not even, maybe about a ½ an inch. I'll just come in and just sew those 2 zipper teeth together so I do not lose that toggle. There we go. So now that's not going to fall. Now you're going to take this piece and just set it aside for a second and grab that quilt sandwich that we made at the beginning. What you're going to do is take off your zipper foot now, and you're going to put your free motion quilting foot on. Now, if you don't know how to free motion quilt, I have a ton of videos on it and you should totally check them out because you can do it. I know you can. But if you don't want to do it today, go ahead and put like a walking foot on, or even just your regular sewing foot, and just draw out some lines and make some line stitches within your quilt sandwich. That is perfectly okay too. But for me, I'm going to put on my free motion quilting foot, aka darning foot, aka embroidery foot. It has many names, but it all does the same thing. You're going to put your free motion quilting foot on, and then you're going to lower your feed dogs. You're going to turn your stitch length to 0, because y'all know we are the stitch regulators when we free motion quilt. One of the tips I can give you when free motion quilting the project pods, you see how stiff they are? Yeah, they're not like our quilt sandwiches that we would make in a normal quilt. At least those ones are more pliable and they go around this part of the sewing machine really well. Well, this right here, it has tripped me up so many times, because what happens is I'm free motion quilting and I'm going along and then I hit this. Well, this is so stiff right here, and this is stiff, that it jerks me and I make a thread, design that I don't want to make. I didn't really stop and fix anything on all of the project pods that I made already, but I've just been mindful to stay away from this edge. And if I find myself going near it, what I'll do is take these big clips and I will literally fold this back and pop a couple clips like that. So it gives me more room to move. But I'll tell you what, even then, I was getting tripped up. So just be careful. Ah, did it to me again. Ah, but you know what? I'm not gonna pull that out and take that out. I'm not gonna take those stitches out on that one. I'm just not gonna do it. I don't have time. I have a video to film, a video to edit, a video to upload, and yeah, I don't have time. I just ran out of thread. Okay, that's where I'm gonna break the film. Now I'm all done free motion quilting, and you really can't see from here, so I'll pop a couple pictures in here. I mean, it really is hard to tell because I used navy thread on top of, well, it's not really navy, like a bright blue kind of navy-ish thread on top of, you know, the same sort of color. So it does kind of blend in a bit, but yeah. The next thing you're going to do is trim all these edges up so that everything is nice and even and all squared up here on these angles. This is why I say in the pattern, sometimes, you know, your finished measurement will end up a little bit different than mine, depending on, you know, how much of a seam allowance that you took, and depending, you know, how much you had to cut off to get things true up. Once I cut that first edge along the fabric, I then lay it across on my mat, and then I get this angle straight here on my ruler, and that will give me a very true angle. And I'm just gonna match it up over here on this side because this is the side I cut first, this is the side I cut second, and now here's the third one. Making sure that things are even is half the battle, friends. Trust me. When I first started sewing, those were a lot of the reasons why my stuff wasn't turning out, because, you know, my stuff was not even to begin with. So how is my project in the end going to be even, right? It's not. So I learned really quickly that, yeah, when they say trim up so that it's nice and square and everything's even, just like I showed you within the vinyl too, along that edge, it's very important. Okay, so if you have a top and bottom, you know, within your fabric, you know, if it's directional or whatnot, make sure that you cut the top 2 corners, not the bottom 2. In order to find the center, I am going to fold this long ways or longwise, match up these corners down here, press that so that's nice and folded, and that I am even all along here. And then I'm gonna pop a clip right there so that that stays folded. Now, I'm going to use my curved ruler to make this curve here, but you can totally use a bowl. I use a bowl all the time in sewing to make a nice curved corner, but I just happen to have this ruler here, so yeah, I'm gonna use it. And I actually got it at the Goodwill, if you can believe it. So people that think they wanna sew, they buy all the stuff, and then when they don't sew, they give it to the Goodwill. Well, you know, I'm the one that comes along and buys it. But I'm just gonna line this ruler up here. This is the raw edge here, and this is the folded edge that has the clip in. Let me flip it. Probably see it better over here. So this is the fold edge, sorry, the raw edge. This is the raw edge, and this is the fold edge here. So I'm going to lay this ruler so that the curved part here is going up along this raw edge side. I'm just gonna butt this up against here. I just simply need the curve. I mean, I'm not really looking for anything else. And they do lines on this ruler across here that you can line up with the bottom of your other fabric edge if you need to. And I'm just going to slice right along here. Okay, so now say I had a bowl, right? Say this is my bowl sitting here. I'm gonna do the same exact thing. I'm just gonna push it up toward this corner and then cut. I'm going to simply hold this down and then just cut. This is pretty thick too, so you might have to do what I'm doing and just tower over it, kind of. So all I've done is just cut off those two pieces right there. And this is what I'm left with. So this is the back piece right here, and this is the inside lining portion of the back piece, and this was the back piece. So I'm going to lay this down first right here so that the lining side is facing up. And then I'm going to take this piece right here, the vinyl piece that has these two sections and the zipper sewn on it, and I'm going to make sure that the zipper is inside a little bit, because when we tack this down, I don't want to catch that toggle, you know, on my needle at all. So I'm going to take the back of the vinyl. The zipper toggle is facing out, it's the right side, and I'm going to lay that right down just like that on that lining side, like so. I'm going to line it up so that this is even. I don't want to look at this and this be like this. I want to make sure that it's even. And if you cut everything properly, you should be pretty good. So I'm lining up, making sure that my vinyl is on both sides of the edge of this lining piece within here. I'm going to take a couple clips, clip the side there, and clip the side over here. Then I'm going to flip this whole piece over. If you haven't put your regular sewing foot back on, do so now. I forgot after I was done free motion quilting. I'm going to pop a couple more clips in here just for GP. Before I cut though, I want to stay stitch all along the edge here. All around these two pieces that I'm now connecting together, I want to stay stitch all those together along the back piece edge. I'm not going from the front, I'm coming from the back now. Now you'll definitely need your newspaper for this one, so grab it and set it right there. Now here's the thing. My sewing foot kept sticking on this, so I could not sew from the front to tack this down on that vinyl. I had to come from the back. So that being said, I mean, I would just go ahead and tack it down from the back, do the stay stitching all the way around from the back. I wouldn't even try it in the front, because what was happening was my vinyl was stretching with my sewing foot, and you don't want that. So just learn from my mistake and make sure that your toggle is way back. And I'm just going in about 1/8 of an inch. Make sure you put your feed dogs back on and turn your stitch length back to 2. Now you see that newspaper's helping me just glide right along. It's not so, friends, if you do it the other way or if you don't use this newspaper. You see, it was right there. So here is my two pieces. They're all stuck together. They're all stay stitched, and I can tell that this is the top because that's where my zipper is. And I forgot to put my logo on. Once you have the two pieces tacked together, both of them, you're then going to flip it so that vinyl side is down, and then you're going to just trim all along the edge here. So I'm just going to run along here with my rotary cutter and just clean things up. I'm just going to freehand it, which, you know, if you feel comfortable, you can use a ruler, but I feel comfortable just, you know, quickly doing it like so. And I'm just following along the line of my curve of my back. And we're only cutting the excess from the front with the vinyl. So this is what I cut off. So this is probably about what you'll get to. I go over these patterns like hundreds of times, so hopefully, you know, there's no mistakes. So you can see here that this must be the medium size that we're working on, because this is the papa and this is the baby. So this must be the medium mama, right? Since this is the straight bottom project pod, we don't have to box any corners on this one. So we're gonna just go ahead and just bind it like normal. So we're gonna attach it to the front so that we can then roll it over to the back. This long edge here on the bottom is where we're gonna start, and we are gonna leave, you know, about, a 7-inch tail or so right there. And we're going to come in about a quarter of the way here. So about a 7-inch tail, and then I'm just gonna start here and I'm gonna sew a 1/4 inch, attaching that down. When you get to the corner at the bottom, you're gonna stop about a 1/4 inch from the edge and then pull it out. Let me turn it so you can see. And then what you're gonna do is flip this over like so. So there you're at the corner, you stopped a 1/4 inch from the edge. You're gonna fold it over back that way so that you have an angle right there. And then this right here edge should be straight up and down with that edge right there. Then you're gonna hold your finger there, grab your binding and bring it back over, and you're going to fold it. Your finger's right there, and then you're just gonna press it down and fold it like so. And you can clip it. Just like that, and then you're gonna bring it to your sewing machine, drop your needle right there, right on the edge, and start sewing at a 1/4 inch all the way down that side. I know you guys see me always lifting up on my chair because this chair is absolutely horrible. I don't wish it on anybody. All of the threads get caught under it and it kind of goes forward. It's the most uncomfortable chair, but I paid a mint for it and I'm gonna use it until I get my mint's worth out of it because it was so expensive, but I digress. And then you're just gonna continue on laying your binding, your raw edge of your binding up against the edge of your project. Oh, I almost forgot. So, you know, I'm gonna stop right here because I forgot to mark for the handles. So let's do that real quick, sorry. So even though that's attached, whatever. So this is the front. What I want you to do is fold this over so that this is perfectly in half. And then I want you to mark the middle right there. So I'm just going to stick my pencil right in there and mark, hopefully. The middle's right there. This is the top, but I'm going to turn it so I can see it. Oh, I'm finding the middle right here, and then I'm going to measure 2.5 inches this way and 2.5 inches this way from that center mark. So we're gonna go 1, 2.5. So there's my half, 1 and 2, and mark that. And it just happens it's on a dark spot. Lucky me. And there's that mark. Here is the 2.5 here. Since this was important, I changed the angle of my camera for you. So this right here is just the short version of the handle, and it's just a cotton, 1 inch. Where that mark is here, I'm going to take and lay that strap, the center of that strap, I'm just gonna eyeball it right where the middle of that is. And then I'm gonna attach that, kind of just to keep it together for a second. What I want you to do is lift up and over. But look, I want you to flip this like this. Like this. Hopefully you can see that. Pretend like this is looped like a regular handle would be. But we're not going to put them both on the front, no. I want you to keep this position. Just go ahead and tuck it in there like that. And I want you to flip this. Just like that. Okay? But we're not going to attach it just like that. We're going to go like this and flip it. So now this is center here. So this is what it looks like. Looks a little crazy, I know, but that's how you're going to set it up for now. And before we mess with this, pretend like we didn't even mess with this yet, because, sorry about that, friends, but yeah, no, let's just tuck this like this. Just pretend like it's not there. Once you have those pinned, I want you to go and just stay stitch these. in 2 separate spots, one right there on the back and one right here on the front. Just stay stitch them quickly. These have both been stay stitched, but I want you to notice this. When I pull this out like this, look at how nice that that's going to eventually lay. Because when we round this corner right here, we're going to be putting this binding within there, and you'll see, it'll all work out. So let's finish getting this binding on here, shall we? So I'm going to start right where I left off, continue going around at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Don't pull too tight when you're at the curve. You want to kind of ease some fabric in there because you want it to be a little loose. If it was too tight, then it's just going to wrap too tightly and it's not going to be right, trust me. So just let it lay there and just sew that 1/4 inch. Now when you get to this point right here, where this strap is, I want you to push this strap under there. Make sure that this strap is straight this way. Okay, and once you know that that's on there straight, I mean, I can see it's you know, straight. I'm going to pull it back this way, and then I'm going to sew. Hopefully it's straight. Okay. Once I know that that's straight in there, then I'm just going to continue and sew right over top. Now I can see on my side here that it ends about right there. So what I'm going to do is stop and break thread right after I go over that strap. Stop, break thread. Okay, nothing's changed there. Everything is still good. Now you're going to take this binding and shove it in this loop, like so, so that that is now pushed that way, and that this is now laying straight that way, just like it was when it was on the other side. But now we're going to lay that right over top of this strap, okay? And then make sure that you don't catch any other strap, you know, from this, you know, as you start sewing. And you're just going to continue and sew right over top of that strap. Is bring these up to each other. We're just going to do a straight stitch because you know what? Life is short. All right. I could do a fancy slanted, you know, but I'm not gonna. So we are going to leave about a 1/4 inch right there, and I turn my iron off. Oh dear. So I'm going to really finger press these because I turned my iron off already for the day. I am going to take these 2 pieces, open them up, and see how they're both coming out the same way. There's that top crease, there's that top crease. Now I'm just going to line up where those creases were. I'm going to also fold this because this is in my way. So I'm going to pinch that like that. There we go. That'll be much easier. Make sure they're coming out the same way. Find those 2 lines that you marked. One's right there and one's right there. Line them up from top to bottom. I'm just going to sew right on that line. Now check this before you do your cutting. You want to make sure that you check this. And what you're looking for, just go ahead and fold it like normal before you would even whatever. So I feel like that is not, you know, tight enough. So I'm going to go in and make it a little bit tighter. When we first folded, you put about 1/8 to a 1/4 inch there. That works on the slanted ones too, that same 1/8 to a 1/4 inch when you close things up. So I'm going to go in, we're going to make it just a bit tighter. All right, let's see. Yes, much better. Okay, so once you have it, you know, and it's tight enough and all that, just go ahead and cut. Use bigger scissors because those are just what's here. And go ahead and either press to one side or another, or open your seams. And now you're going to just finish sewing right along here. At a 1/4 inch, you know, tacking this binding down. Once the binding's on, you're going to go ahead and just flip all these over. Let's work on this back strap right here. You're going to lift that binding up and over top. If you find that you took too much seam allowance, which I think I did there, you're going to go ahead and just trim that off. Flip your binding up over the back like that, and then flip this up, and then you're going to give yourself a little bit of slack here. So you're not going to pull it way up here. You're going to see where that binding is. You're going to give it a little bit, like 1/8 of an inch of slack, because when we go to sew this up from the other side, it's going to hit right in there and it's going to make it lay really nice. So I'm just going to clip that. Flip this like that, hold on to that and flip it over. And then here you're going to do the same thing, but on the front you're going to push that and give that about 1/8 of an inch slack. And then put a clip. You're going to come over here and pop that way and that way and just clip. So you're going to clip all the way around. If you find it's too tight, like a couple of my spots are too tight, I may go in and, you know, trim them up. Trim this up a little bit so I can get, you know, a nice pull over there. It's best really to over clip because we want to make sure that we get that in the seam. And it's really hard to tell when you're sewing. So once you get everything all clipped, then you're just going to follow along and be careful when you go over that. You're going to just stitch in the ditch all the way around. What do y'all think? Now these project pods with the straight bottoms, they are super cute. But I heard you wanted box corners. Well, guess what? You got box corners. That's what's up next in the next segment. I have all the detailed measurements on how to make another set of 3 sizes, but this time all with boxed bottom corners. Okay friends, time to box those corners. And of course you know all of the measurements are in the pattern, so no worries there. The first thing you're going to do is take your pod that has been bound and the strap is on it already, and the bottom straight edge is all stay stitched across at 1/8 of an inch. You are then going to take the measurement that's in the pattern and cut off both squares on the bottom corners of your project pod. You should have something that looks like this. Next, you're going to turn it wrong side out. Just grab those corners, those cut corners that you cut already, and just push it through. You can see here that I only turned just the bottom inside out. So you can leave the top right side out because of the way that the zipper is there. You can easily just turn the bottom vinyl piece here inside out only and leave the top. So what you're going to do is just press out all of those inside seams here from here down to the corner that you cut. Then you're going to roll out this bottom seam right here. Once you have this bottom seam all rolled out, and it should be very easy because remember you don't have 1/2 an inch worth of batting there if you followed the pattern directions. We're just going to clip this all along here along the bottom. Next, just sew a French seam right here, enclosing that little 1/4 inch that you initially put in there. You're going to go about a 1/4 inch here and close that all up. Doesn't matter which side that you go from. You just want to make sure that that seam is totally encased so that we don't see it on the front. Back stitch Now that seam is all encased if we were to turn it right side out right now. But first things first, stick your hand inside this bag. I want you to take your fingers and just pinch this seam together like that. Once you have it pinched, I want you to look at the seams because we're going to nest those. I want you to flip that binding seam toward the vinyl piece. Then I want you to flip this seam right here, the inside seam. I want you to match up the seams and I want you to push that seam allowance to the quilted backside. And once you have that all pinched, you're then going to just add some clips. Once you have that seam allowance all clipped, then you're going to take it to your sewing machine. Now you can do one of two things. You can tack it down with 1/8 of an inch stitch first, or you can go right in for the kill on the 1/4 inch stitch, and that'll make more sense here in a second when we bind that. I tend to just go right for the 1/4 inch, but that's up to you. But we do have to stay stitch it either way because we need this to be stay stitched together so that binding goes on nicely. So you're just going to bring it over to your sewing machine. I'm going to go 1/4 inch. Make sure you back stitch. We want this to hold. If your sewing machine isn't semi-industrial, you may need to take your wheel, your flywheel over here on your sewing machine and walk this needle through so that it does not break. That's a major tip for you because I don't want you breaking needles. Truth be told, I have broken a couple needles getting ready for this project because I didn't take the batting out at the bottom at first, and too much bolt causes that needle not to want to go through. So just walk it through if you have to. Now I probably could go ahead and just go for it, but since I've already broken so many needles, I'm just trying to be good. And once I get past that bulk, then I can use my foot pedal and just go the rest of the way across and back stitch. Now we are going to go over that again, so if you didn't get it real good the first time, you will the second time when you put the binding on. So that is what that looks like, and that actually is a little crooked, but I'll fix that when I go to put the binding on. So we are still working from the inside of this project pod. You're going to come over here to this side, make sure that all that fabric is where it needs to be. You're going to push the binding seam allowance from the outer side forward, and you're going to press this inside French seam toward the quilted side. Go ahead and pop some clips in. So I'm just walking it through. Just walk it through with my flywheel. And once I feel safe, then I can continue on. So there's that. The last step in the bottom boxed project pod is to take the leftover binding strips from when you bound your pod and cut them to fit this area right here, this raw edge. You're going to cut it about 1/4 inch more on both sides, then you're going to fold it in 1/4 inch on both sides so that we don't have any raw edges. Then you're simply going to lay it down on top, raw edges together. So you're going to take your little binding, lay it raw edges down, and now you're going to take it over to your sewing machine and you're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam all the way across. Be sure to back stitch. And I'm going to go right through this with my sewing machine. Let's see how it does. Nice and slow. It took it. Yay. Back it up. Break thread. Now what you're going to do is take this folded edge right here, fold it up over the raw edge, down like that, and then give that a good clip. Actually, we'll put the clip over here. Next, just run it back through your sewing machine, stitching in the ditch, and that will close that binding all up. Nice and slow. take a look at how nice that box is in that bottom. It's such a clean look on the inside. It really is. I mean, I do have some threads to clip and such, but you know, other than that. So then turn it right side out, and then you have your very own box bottom project pod. The box bottom project pods, they totally stand up on their own. They do kind of flop over though when there's nothing in them, but just wait. We're not going to keep these project pods empty for too long. I can't wait to travel with these right here. For the straight bottom project pod, I wanted a matching set, and I think they turned out adorable, right? Be sure to get your pattern and let me know in the comments what you think of the project pod. Until next time on the Sewing Channel, take care.